All right, everybody, welcome to CyberBulls. So we had a fantastic earnings call. We've got the gang here. All of us are here together because it was a very important call, and we think that the page has turned, right? But we are all wearing black for some reason. Why did you tell me to wear black? What's going on, guys?
We're mourning the call options that are expiring worthless.
Xander is singing goodbye. Goodbye, my friends.
Only
goodbye.
Xander. He's got lotto fever.
Well, why don't you tell us what happened there, Xander? So tell me what you're doing. So we saw the earnings call. We always know, right? Don't we, that people buy on the rumor and sell on the news. What were you expecting?
Yeah, hopium prevails again. You would think that we'd learn our lessons, but there was a ton of call options open. Looking at the open interest for this Friday, for the 300 strike, there's 59,606 contracts that are open. By comparison, if you look at something like 290, that's 25,000. 285 is 13,000. So and even strikes like 315 had 24,000 and so on. So there's there was a lot of optimism that we would go up. And Wall Street can't allow that. I mean, it's their MO. They buy the rumors, sell the news. And even though I was up in some leaps that I bought earlier, at around these levels, all of that is gone. So, that's where I wore black as a joke, and I'm glad you guys joined me in that.
But people here are buying, right? So who here bought Tesla stock?
I bought some today.
You bought some stock? I'm waiting for Monday, Tuesday.
I actually averaged down those leaps. I have some 300 strike for March of 24. So like a shorter term leap, and so I just averaged that down. I think this is gonna be a couple of weeks of rough road. I think we'll talk about some rebalancing that's occurring, and but it doesn't make sense to me. I tweeted about this. It does not make sense. I think that what the company announced is phenomenal. They're firing on all electrons, and I think it's.
I love it.
We'll go back up.
Go ahead, Alexander. Tell us why you're waiting till tomorrow.
I'm actually waiting for Monday to Tuesday. So just so that I'm nearly all in anyway in Tesla, but every month I add. And usually I add around the 10th, 15th of the month, depending on my liquidity situation. But this time I waited it out, and I'm waiting for beginning of next week. Why do I wait for beginning of next week? It is NASDAQ 100 really rebalancing, meaning they usually do that, but it's an adjustment that you can't feel. It's just a market cap adjustment. But from time to time, very rarely, haven't done it for a very long time, they really adjust. And so beginning of the month of July, they announced they would adjust because the top 7 NASDAQ components, the how do they call them? The Marvelous 7 or Miraculous 7 or whatever it is, make up about 55% of the index, which is much too much in their view. They feel the whole index is not diversified enough, with 7 making up 55% and the other 93 making up the other 45%. So they're lowering these manually. So they're adjusting these weights, and this happens very rarely. So what does that mean in the case of Tesla? Tesla so far had a 4.5% weight in the NASDAQ 100, just because the stock increased so much since they did this last time years and years ago. And now they're bringing it down manually to 3.4%. They announced that early in the month. So anybody who is doing active fund management and has the NASDAQ 100 as a benchmark could make the decision for now 3 weeks whether they want to adjust, could do this slowly, whatsoever. But the real index funds, out of which there are many, all the BlackRocks and whatever, who are just pure index funds, they have a hard deadline tomorrow, Friday at the close, to be exercising then. Now, hear me out, because it could be less dramatic than it sounds. Could have been that BlackRock gave their market makers indication how much this is, and the market maker has prepared all this already, and so it won't have a big impact at all on the close tomorrow. But it could also be that it's not. So it's just one of those unknowns where we don't know yet how this is going to play out. The whole thing happens between Friday close and Monday open. So it could also be people doing the whole transactions Monday morning or even later into the Monday morning. But this is just this uncertainty. And I rather wait it out, sit it out, wait what's happening Monday, and then on Tuesday I buy latest.
Thank you so for that. How about you, Jeff? I know you said you started buying.
Yeah, at the end of the day, just a little bit, and started a process of adding on this weakness, because I looked at, I mean, what I heard on that conference call didn't concern me in terms of their ability to reduce costs faster than they're reducing MSRP, and that I think was the margin stabilization piece. I think is key. The rhetoric's a different thing, and we can talk about it a little bit later. But I think both analysts and investors need to separate and watch what the company's actually doing versus versus what some things are said. I know it's difficult at times, but anyway. So yeah, just I start a process. I never do these like, here it is, and like just buy everything at once. I usually I'd always pretty much step into things very carefully, but have kind of a methodical plan to add. So yeah, looking forward to adding more.
All right, Christian, dude, man, bye.
Yeah. So
Tell me what you did.
last week I said, if it goes up, great. If it goes down, I'll buy right opportunity to buy more. So yeah, I added a little bit today. I think what we're seeing is, if you look at big tech, Nvidia, Google, they were all down big today. It could be a lot of money. These stocks, remember, had huge runs, right? Their valuations have exploded this year. And it could be with this rebalancing, some people getting ahead of it and selling today. Because Netflix earnings was okay, but it wasn't great. Tesla was fine. It was solid, but it wasn't like a blowaway. And, so people maybe just had an excuse. Okay, I'm going to take some gains. We know they're probably going to have to sell some more Friday to rebalance. A lot of the big six are going to, have to come down. So they're going to have to buy the QQQs, the lower ones, the ones that are outside of that. They're going to buy those, and they're going to sell the big dogs to get those down realignment. So the index isn't so heavy to 5, 6, 7 stocks. So that still has to take place. It's probably going to take place tomorrow. But as far as the call, I think we'll get into it more. But high level, I thought it was a solid report. I thought Tesla did a great job. They're managing the business very well. Energy was a nice surprise. Quarter over quarter was a little light, but that could be just a delay in some revenue recognition. But year over year, it exploded. And margins did really well. I think it went from 11 or 12 or 13 to 18% on the energy margins, which was actually in line with the auto margins. So auto margins were fine. They didn't fall off a cliff, so that was good. The market initially liked it, right? When I saw green, it was up 0.5%, 1%. Even I think it got as high as maybe 2% in after hours. But then the call hit. And again, I love Elon, but the call, it doesn't instill a lot of confidence. So if the market wanted to bid Tesla up, it's hard a little bit when Elon's going into, investing lessons and teaching us how to invest and very uncertain about the outlook. I think his guidance is fine. It's probably going to be fine, but he doesn't instill confidence in that sometimes. He's like, well, maybe it'll be good, maybe it won't. If interest rates go up, I can't control that. The market doesn't like uncertainty. So initial reaction is, let's sell it off and we'll reevaluate it. So that's just my high level. I thought it was a great quarter. I thought Tesla did amazing, but the market is the market. And if we're going to be in the market, we have to understand what the stock market does. I'm a student of the stock market. I love listening to it. And after I got done the call, I said, this is probably going lower tomorrow. That's just my gut. And it kind of happened. It doesn't mean I did anything. It just means to me, it wasn't one of those calls where I'm going to get off here and just start buying Tesla stock like a maniac. So that's just a high level.
All right. So before we get to talking about our big insights of the Q2 earnings call, since you brought it up, let's talk Elon. I know, Alexandra, you have some pretty strong opinions about what Elon was saying or not saying and so forth. Tell us what you're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I loved everything what Elon was saying, but I didn't go and I don't go into these earning call anymore as I would have once I was still working for Wall Street or in the financial markets. Why? Because I think the way Elon uses these earnings calls is not appropriate. And appropriate doesn't mean that it's his fault, but it's just not appropriate to what financial analysts and Wall Street are used to hearing. So he is talking vision. He's getting quickly annoyed by, their stupid questions and their short-sightedness. And he takes his time to think about, how he really wants to transmit his messaging and his words and his vision to the audience. And I just don't think earnings calls are the place for that. Earnings call are usually quite boring. I mean, I've assisted to hundreds, and I'm sure people here as well. And nobody expects huge vision statements or big outlooks or product lines, whatever. And they do restrain from talking products. But I just do believe Elon is not the right person for these earnings calls. I think they should just be toned down, become boring as Wall Street wants them. And we have Elon, we have access to Elon on Twitter, we have access to Elon on investor days and whatever else. And I think that's when he shines. And that's where the people are in the right setting, in the right mood to be attentive to what he has to transmit. So it just, and the reaction was actually measurable yesterday. We had the numbers out, and the stock remained calm. Everybody was finding something to digest in a good or a negative manner, but it sort of balanced itself out, and it was nothing major going on until the earnings call started. And then these, I always say, brain-dead Wall Street analysts didn't get what they were looking for, because they need to be served financial numbers, coefficients, dates, stuff that they can tick off their list what they need to feel comfortable for the next 3.5 hours. And that's just not how Elon is wired. And he has said it himself about 2 years ago that except when it's something really important, he will not assist to these earnings calls anymore. And frankly, I mean, while I loved it, I loved that he gave this insight into that they're already negotiating with another OEM, and we're certainly getting into all that. That's nothing tangible enough for Wall Street analysts. And so in my view, there was nothing sufficiently important to be said to them there. And he shouldn't have been there. That's just my opinion. Now, did I personally enjoy it? Of course I did. And I was actually commenting all evening yesterday that I think the stock will go further down, and gave indication of why that's the case. It was overpurchased by retail. There were quite a lot of big short people now in the market that had entered the market on Tesla a couple of days ago. So you could just see it coming, plus, of course, the whole rebalancing story. So I was trying to prepare people for it, but and this could have happened, Elon on the call or not. Let's just be clear. But it is true that he watered down a relatively neutral earnings paper, what we saw on paper, and suddenly the focus was on something completely else, and that was not very constructive.
If I can give my opinion, which is obviously a little different than what you just said, just a counter view, just to consider, because I'm not against everything you just said. I think you're absolutely correct. The part about him being part of the call, though, I think is a positive. The way I saw it was that it's his opportunity to speak to all investors and be able to share the story of AI and bot and autonomy. And so one of the things that I came out with this call, this Q2 earnings call, was the top 3 questions that came out from the analysts were all about AI and autonomy. So that was a really big shock to me that they are asking these questions. In the last earnings call, Q1 earnings call, it was shocking to me that the top questions were all about, what was it? I'm blanking now.
Margins,
cars still,
margins,
right? Margins and calls.
Auto margins.
No. The top, no, AI was AI. So the last Q1, they actually asked about AI. Tesla's an AI company. I'm sorry. Tesla's an energy company. That was the first time that the first 3 questions were all about energy. And so they're moving on. And so this is his ability to communicate what is important about the company, because the analysts get it wrong. They are all wrong, right? And so when he was asked the question, what do you think about, margin versus, market share? he answered it, which is, well, the more cars we have out there, the more revenue we're going to get from FSD, which is 5 times more. Was there anything wrong with that answer? I think that was great.
No,
Stock investors, the short-term ones, don't like that because they go, well, that means that you're reducing,
Exactly.
margins for this quarter and even this year. But it's a fantastic answer because it tells you the confidence he has in Robotaxi. And then you saw that new line item in the report talking about fleet-based margins. And so he needs to communicate this. Otherwise, everybody's going to misunderstand what Tesla is.
Well, I
I'd be
get
curious. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get your point, and there's validity to it. And I was surprised about short of a dozen analysts actually upgraded Tesla and increased their price targets, Dan Ives being one of them, increasing it to 350. So you have analysts who understand it. There is no doubt about it. But obviously the stock price tells you the story of the whole market, and the stock price is down. How much is it now? 10%. So the reality is the stock price, right? We may like it or not. And I do believe, again, there were other factors filtering into the stock price as well. The market itself went down. It's not only Tesla, and that there's lots of other things. I just do believe that Elon has enough means to be heard, and to be heard by analysts as well. He's going on to very high-level interviews. He can go any day back to Lex Friedman or to Joe Rogan. If he feels like exactly, he can just tweet it, or he can invite all these people on a space or whatever. And I do believe that's a much better platform for this sort of communication than these earnings calls, because, like I said, it waters down the earnings call, and it's not the appropriate setting for it. Now, you can always say, well, Elon is not doing anything ever in the appropriate setting. Again, for me personally, as a retail investor, I love it. I don't mind at all. Anytime I can hear from him is good. But we have to also face the reality that the most of the stock trading is not done by retail investors. Retail investors usually buy it and hold it. There's not much trading going on. The trading is done by institutionals who are very sensitive to these calls and just throw them a bone, do it as boring as they need it. Why excite people who are not capable of doing anything with this information?
And Christian.
I agree. I got a question for Jeff. I'll bring Jeff in. Jeff, so Elon, again, this is just a quick point, but I'm just curious. Elon had made a statement, I think it was like a year or two ago. He said, I don't need to be on the conference calls unless there's something really important that I want to get across. Well, there was nothing really important that he got across yesterday, I don't think. Or
what?
Maybe
FSD licensing, dude.
So why would he say, okay, I love Elon too there. It doesn't bother me. The stock could go down. It doesn't bother me. What I'm saying is, why did Elon make a statement a couple years ago or whatever it was? I don't need to be on the conference calls anymore unless I need to and he's literally on every one except one. Did he miscalculate, thinking I need to be on these things again? Or like, why did he backtrack on what he said? And he just a guess? I don't know. Because he's there every time.
Exactly. And the only one who wasn't there, it was smooth sailing. It was boring. It was as boring as they love it. And the stock went up. Go ahead, Jeff. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No worries. I mean, a couple comments on this. I mean, I think if there's 3 camps. You're bulled up on the stock, the company. You're neutral. You're an analyst. Hopefully, you're neutral in biases, and then you're biased against the company. And if you're in any of those 3 buckets, in the 2 extreme buckets, you got something. If you're bulled up on the company, like Alexander said, I'm bulled up on. There was many things said from a visionary perspective about what they're doing, why they're doing it, and quite frankly, there is a lack of knowledge or intelligence, I think, in the analyst community as it relates to COGS and the COGS side. I heard things on that call that made me start the buying process a little bit today. You're never going to find a perfect low, by the way. You start nibbling. I heard things from a COGS perspective that validated my thesis. But in terms of your original question, Herbert, was, Elon on the earnings calls. Well, first off, these are his companies. Is any CEO perfect? No. But if you look at the strategy of what you care about for the CEO is, are they putting the right strategy in place? Are they putting the right people in place? And are they getting the resources? And are they representing the company right from a shareholder perspective? And I think that becomes a little bit arguable on these earnings calls. Again, I love the company. I love Elon. I love everything that should be without saying. But I would say that sometimes the messages aren't aimed at the right audience, meaning they're the right message. I agree with everything he's saying, but the audience there is like, look, I just want to know what's going to happen current quarter, next quarter, and I just, I'm looking for answers to things. And they'll ask him a very direct question. And then he'll say like, well, this isn't going to matter in 3 or 4 years. And that may be that may be the correct answer, but there's tactical answers and there's longer term strategic answers. And so, yeah, it's more of a fit issue. But in terms of like, is he capable of like, of course he's capable. He's capable of a lot more than an earnings call, but it's more of like the message, the fit, and the time. And the other thing that I personally have an issue with is this this all-in-one advice on investing. I think we should just stay away from this dialogue. I don't know why we go there and we spend minutes on it. We spend tweets on it, and people are trying to analyze his tweets and what does he mean about this. I don't think there's one set of advice that fits the entire investing population. And I don't give advice that I think that fits the entire investing population. I think people should assess their own situation and decide. And if you go back and look at the track record and some of the proclamations that have been made about macro and what's going to happen, a lot of people are getting surprised. So in terms of the call going forward, I don't think anything is going to change, to be honest. So it's more about how do you manage in terms of expectations of like, you go into these earnings sessions and, if the company's beating and they're doing well, it seems like they'll be able to kind of get through this. Like, I'm not worried about 1 or 2 days with the stock. I think leaving the call, the company's in a better position in terms of how it's positioned than it was before the call. What happened during the call to me was a lot of noise and a lot of frustration maybe on some people's part. But in terms of do I think the company's actually in better shape after the call? I actually think they are.
I agree. I actually think it was one of the best earnings calls I've heard.
Yep,
this was my 14th.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not about Elon not being able to communicate. And I give you a reason, Jeff. I think he should stay away from all investment advice and stuff like that. He may feel something, somebody else is in a different situation. Let's not just go there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he has a problem with explaining his vision. I mean, we all understand it. If we understand it, anybody, should be able, and we help it to break it down. It's the capacity of the analysts that are then making decisions and putting out their price targets and their recommendations that I question. I think these people are just stuck in the old world. And we can cater to them. It's nothing, it's not below our grade or whatsoever. We can give them what they need, and it will actually help the cause more than trying to educate them in a call where they are not in a situation prepared to be educated. That's not what they are there for at that moment. Sometimes you just have to also understand what's the person on the other side looking for. And I just have the feeling from time to time Tesla doesn't recognize it. It's us. We're genius. We're so ahead of the curve. Now you listen and you learn, right? I mean, we've gone over these communication issues a couple of times. And just yesterday was one of them. Again, for people like us, retail investors who love this, who are every day on the subject, it was perfect. I got so much new good information out of that. I'm pumped up. I have no problem pouring more money into this. But there is an issue. Some people don't get it and they're vocal. I mean, I can tell this. I had a 15-minute phone call this morning with Gary. I mean, it was one of the more animated ones, no doubt about it. But he was really aggravated. And I said, it doesn't matter, but to him it does. And he is one of our best advocates to Wall Street. There is no doubt about it. So if Gary didn't get it, how many others didn't get it, right? And that's just it. Gary will get it. We'll make sure he gets it. But it is important that we address people that have a power that we may not like, that we may not respect, but it is what it is.
And could I just say something? Look, no surprise here. I might be in the minority view again here. I've heard Elon starting in 2019, 2020, up to now. Elon has in the past done nice conference calls. Not in 2018 when the company was struggling, but when Tesla was doing well and the stock was doing well, he would give the vision and he would give a focused conference call. The last few, again, I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to be analytical about it, right? We're here to discuss a topic and we're discussing it. A lot of the time in the last few, it's a very jovial thing. And I want him to be happy, but sometimes, their cuss words are coming out. They're in no world should he be talking about like investing lessons for the general public. I don't know how that makes it onto a Tesla conference call. I just don't see like NVIDIA, Jensen Huang talking about covered calls or hey, buy the dip, don't be on margin. Like these are things that like to Jeff's point, investors need to make their own decisions. He is the CEO of Tesla. It does not matter, buy low, sell high. None of this stuff has anything to do with Tesla, the business. This is ancillary stuff. We are there to listen to a conference call, and Elon can do it. I've heard him do a great conference call, get the vision, get the big vision, and then give us specifics about what he's doing, even quarter to quarter. He's done it before. I've heard it numerous times. It just seems lately he just wants to do big vision and the minutia where Zach used to do more of it. Even he's now just getting very ungranular. Maybe it's because they did give some specifics and it bit them in the butt because they missed the numbers in Q4. They missed Q1 when he said it wouldn't go under 20%. So now they just want to take a laissez-faire approach and just say, hey, if the margins could go up, the margins could go down. The price could go up, the price could go down. Depends on the macroeconomics. I get it. But it doesn't really give a great sense of confidence when the chief financial officer or Elon won't make any, things like that. Again, that's just the way I'm thinking of it, but I know he can do it. But that's what I felt, even as a retail investor.
Let's bring Xander in this. Xander, you are unique because you are both a very long-term investor. You're all in, but also you play this. You're also a trader, or options trader. So tell us your opinion. What did you like about the earnings, or anything about that we just discussed now?
Thanks, Herbert. Yeah, I like to think about it like a golf game. Hit the long drives, but also have a good short game. And I heard great things. To me, like I think about like what you guys are saying, and it sounds like you want them to stick to memes and filling tires with that air, and stay away from stay away from these prognostications, as he likes to say. But I heard like amazing things, like the FSD transfer thing is good. Obviously not a short-term thing for the money in Tesla. So Wall Street doesn't care. They can't model that. But looking forward, you can see that there's big earnings coming, right? They hit nearly $25 billion in a quarter. So like you're getting to a place where right now the short-term trader really only cares about, is the stock going to go up or down? And when you have this big move with the 200-day moving averages in the 50s, right? You start looking at some of these technicals. They really think that it has to come back down. We're also in a seasonal trough in the stock price. There's a lot of selling and a lot of vacations, so volume is lower. So the July and August are historically a little bit lower in terms of what you see with the price, especially in an election year. Those kinds of things start to play. I watch a channel that really helps me kind of look at the macro, and it's FX evolution. I recommend people check that out. It really helps with my overall, and I'm actually mad at myself for not watching the last week of videos, because that helps me keep the bullishness away. So but the other things that I heard was I'm really excited about the bot. Herbert, you were wrong. You said 100 bots and there was 10. Just
Yeah, I was wrong.
So
What else is Herbert wrong about?
So like the actuators, when
We don't have enough time for that. Okay.
But like the actuators, and that they're going to start manufacturing those things, the Wall Street, I think, will understand in a little bit. Right now it's the Wall Street game, the shell game of calls and puts, and but I say give it a couple of weeks. I didn't see this as a bad earnings call at all. I thought it's one of those. It's like the CyberTruck moment where everyone else is talking badly, and you're like, wait a minute, this is revolutionary. It's changing, so changing the world. So I think that the bot and being able to actually reduce operational costs is going to start actually impacting, and once they start scaling this up. So I thought it was good. I thought it was a fun.
No, wait, before you go there, Xander, what's the duck on the Tesla?
Oh, that's the golden goose from ARK Invest's bull case, perfect scenario in 2019. That's how I fell in love with Tesla and their research with the.
But that's not really on a car. That's just on a painting, right?
No. Yeah, it's just a photo. This was my original Twitter when I became active in 2019, and this was an image I borrowed from someone, and then I actually brought this poster. I made it for the Madonna Inn, which is coming up, people.
Yes.
The Tesla takeover. Herbert, Alexander, you guys are both going to be there, right? So I brought this. I catered the Menchies there that year, so I made that and kind of stuck around. Thanks for
Since we're asking about that, I'm very curious about Jeff. Why do you have a chair there, Jeff? And does anybody actually sit on that chair, or what?
We've been through that.
You're muted. You're muted.
I do occasionally. Right now it's an armrest. I have a chair there. If I need an extra chair, it's there. I do socialize with people. I just don't sit alone in my office all day and record videos with you.
I don't believe that.
You do. You sit all alone and you're in
that room alone.
No. And now the staircase to heaven. Let's get to the staircase.
Wait. Okay, yeah.
I got to bring up another point.
Why are we watching your staircase?
Oh yeah, this is just plain. I could give you more of a vibe, but I just like the vanilla look right now. So Q1, Elon said there's going to be a CyberTruck event in Q3. We didn't hear anything on this earnings call about the CyberTruck event, and then he kind of pushed it off and said later this year. So let's read the tea leaves, guys. Are we going to get a Q3 event? Not that it matters, but it's again we're talking. Are we going to get an event in Q3, or is it going to get pushed to Q4?
I thought we said earnings calls aren't the place for product announcements. Make up your mind. Which one is it? Do you want a financial?
No, it is a place for CyberTruck launch.
No, but I think it's funny how
CyberTruck launch.
I think it's funny how different people hear different things. I heard very bullish things about CyberTruck. I heard that it's going to be coming out in Q3. Everything's on track.
Oh, you heard? Okay, I
heard that later this year.
I heard later. He said later this year.
He said later this year, and I think it's going to be September 6th.
Yeah. He had to couch because he said that this CyberTruck is not like any vehicle ever. It's got 10,000 parts. It's as slow as the last part ever. So he's going to.
I get it. I understand all that. I understand Elon's fault. But I'm just saying, in Q1 he said Q3 event. No Q3 event.
If he wanted to deliver 3 CyberTrucks in front of the press and 3 buyers, he could do that tomorrow evening. Right. So if the intention is to do this in September, he can do that. He can pull that out of a hat any day. But if the intention is to be really ready and the next day there are 50 or 100 CyberTrucks going to be picked up, that's probably a little bit more of logistics. And, it may not be the most important date for them in the next 4 or 6 weeks, it will be an important date.
I get
Maybe
it.
he needs more time to work with what's his name in Texas, so you can actually buy an EV in Texas. You can't even buy them there, right?
That's true.
I've talked about this before, though. I'll move on. The only reason I'm bringing this up, because I think it's a good discussion. Bulls, and I'm a bull, but I'm a realistic bull. Bulls say, why don't they believe Elon on this,
we're all
and this,
unrealistic?
and this? They don't get it. They don't get it. They don't get it. Hold on. He says certain things, then they don't happen. So I can understand why people could say, well, Elon says this. Should I believe it? Yes or no? That some people that maybe aren't in the Tesla universe might say, maybe I shouldn't, because he said a lot of things that, so maybe Tesla don't get the credit until they deliver it now. Is that unreasonable? Is that unreasonable?
I can comment on this from.
Go ahead, yeah, John. I'm just asking, is it unreasonable to see a little bit more than just go with what they say?
I think what the guidance has been on CyberTruck is small volumes this year, delivery event. He did say a delivery event in Q3 and before, so that is true. But he's basically saying, delivery. He goes to what he reaffirmed on the call is the product will be delivered this year in small volumes, larger volumes next year, and that's synonymous with any kind of new category, very highly complex new product introduction. That makes sense. This isn't like maybe a Model 3 refresh where you're reusing 2/3 of the parts and you're procuring a smaller percentage of new parts. This is everything's new, and there's a lot of difficult things. But the one thing that I'm hearing I had to correct somebody in another forum earlier because people aren't understanding what a release candidate vehicle is or a release candidate product is. Release candidate product is they believe they're done with the design, and that whole machine, that whole supply chain machine is working and it's ramping up, it's cranking up, it's getting components into the material rooms, everybody's getting ready. Release candidate means is they believe they're on the final design, they're just finishing all the testing that they have to do to confirm that. I think if they find a problem that's related to some remote test case and some mountain at some temperature in New Zealand, they'll fix it, but they'll fix it in due time. So I believe that they're actually gearing up for ramp, and they just want to kind of set expectations. This is one of the things I've seen with the company and changed in the last maybe 2 years, which is to set expectations a little bit lower and to exceed them.
Yeah, fair enough. And again, I'm just trying to stimulate some debate, right? Because this is what people are talking about. So this is good that we have a back and forth and kind of go through the issues. Yeah, go ahead, Herbert.
Yeah, it is funny that different people hear different things. I mean, I am just so excited about what I heard in Q2 earnings call. I love that Elon is there, by the way. And just a quick comment, I don't want to bring this up again, but he was defending the retail investors for Tesla. And he loves Tesla retail investors. That's why he then went off talking about the margin. But he is so confident about the future of Tesla, but he knows that it's very volatile. That's why he went to talk about it, okay? So everything Tesla's been doing has been out of the park. So what if the Cybertruck is not released in September and it's released in October, November, or even December this year?
I agree. Or next year, or even 2025. It doesn't matter.
But is that sarcastic? Are you being sarcastic?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm saying at some point it does matter. But come on, if it goes into 2024,
matter.
It goes to credibility, Herbert. You can't make statements and then
the credibility in my mind, the credibility is the fact that they have a friggin' Cybertruck, which is the most incredible vehicle ever made.
I agree with you.
Exactly. You two are exactly the problem of what's an earnings call, right? People like Christian, they want a date, they want a number, they want
no,
a number
I don't really need a date.
whatever.
I'm just saying, don't look. If Alexander, if you tell me you're going to be somewhere on August 15th, and I'm going to meet you there, and we're going to have lunch, and you don't be there on August 15th to have lunch, I'm not going to say, oh, that Alexandra, she's so wonderful. She's going to be late. Maybe she'll be a few days. I'll just wait here.
Okay, did he invite me for lunch right now? Did he invite me for lunch?
You clearly haven't started your own company, created your own product, and created your own business. You have a plan. You have this project plan. You hit as much as you can, but things happen. But what matters is,
I
can you
agree.
deliver it? Can you deliver it profitably? If you're
I'm not going to win
profitable,
this.
it's okay. If it's okay,
I agree.
if
I
you are
don't need
delayed.
him to tell me. What I'm saying is, don't give us a time for an event until you know when the event will be. That's all I'm saying. Don't tell me
He
nothing.
didn't.
And I
CyberTruck.
say, don't invite him to the earnings call because he was the one saying Q3 last time
So
in
there's truth
September.
and then there's not truth. I'm big on truth, like Elon. Elon loves truth. And Jeff backed me up. He said in Q3, we're going to have a CyberTruck event. That's
In
what he
September.
said. Now you could
End of
say,
Q3.
well, maybe it's Q3, maybe it's Q4, maybe it's Q1. We could do all that. But what
Christian,
I'm saying is he said
what happened to
Q3.
your
What he should have
voice?
said, maybe Q3, maybe Q4. It could be Q1
Christian,
and 24. I don't
they
know.
are reinventing the vehicle. If this was, I'm going to create a brand new model, whatever, that has been done a million times before, I can be very precise of the
I
date that's going to come
understand
out
that.
because I'm using all the same parts
It's the
that we've
greatest
done many
vehicle
times
in the
before.
world. It's going to be a hit. I understand all that.
And is
I
he not
love
right?
it.
When he said that the Model Y is going to be the number one selling vehicle in the
Yeah.
world, when he launched it, and it does, why don't you give me credit and give him credit that,
No,
oh my
I give him
God,
tons
he
of
was right
credit.
on that
What I'm saying is,
when no
okay,
one
I'll
else
give you.
thought it was.
But here's where all I'm saying is, I hear, why don't they just believe Elon and Tesla? They're going to do this. And Elon said it in his own words. So I'm just giving you a pushback to why an ordinary investor, not a Tesla Uber bull, might not buy the stock, because he said, maybe I'm the FSD boy who cried wolf. Meaning he said that FSD would be done. I'm just saying he did it again this year. He said, I believe it will be done by this year better than a human. So if it's not, I understand it doesn't matter. 25, 26, the stock's going to skyrocket. I get it. But what I'm saying is people that aren't in the universe don't understand that. He said it was going to be done this year. It's not. Now he said it's done next. Do you understand why there is some doubt among people who don't follow the story? That's what I'm trying to say. Yes or no?
I think you go back to the point in the tape where you said you're not going to win this debate. Cut it there.
Yeah, I'm not going to win. I know. I think I make a good. If this was like a jury with like jurors that were,
impartial,
even-handed, and not a biased jury, then I think my points would hit home.
We're biased.
If you really invite me for lunch, maybe you get my voice.
Christian, I think you're. I think
Alexandra wants to agree with me. She was about to go in and say, "I get your point."
It's the lunch. It's the lunch. It's the lunch.
So,
go ahead,
Christian. Like your
I'm going to get roasted in the comments below, but I don't care. I think this is important. I think when you say something, you should do it. But go ahead.
So look,
yeah, we can move on.
You're not wrong. Yeah, you're not wrong about why someone isn't buying the stock. I have people very close to me in my life that are bears that this is what they talk about. But the point is, CyberTruck event is coming. So he wasn't specific whether it's Q3 or the beginning of Q4. Like, do we really care? We saw a Cybertruck. We saw a line. We saw it frolicking in the mud with a giant windshield wiper. Like, you're seeing progress, and Elon's future telling is the reason we're all here. Him saying, in 2014, in 2020, we're going to sell 500,000 units. That came true. Model Y is going to be the number one by revenue, number one by in 22, number one by volume in 23 is why we're here. So now you're talking about Cybertrucks and bots and FSD. So, what did they just go back and just focus on that? We are long-term investors, and ultimately, yes, it is a fair point to say that the earnings call should just be about numbers and deep diving into those things. Let Zach do his thing. Do some vision casting, but stay away from financial advice. Those are all fair criticisms. So I'll give you that. But at the end of the day, I think that we should just focus on how where the company is going, skate where the puck is going, as opposed to just dwelling on this. So I think we should move on.
And let me just end it here and then move it. I just want to clarify. I agree with everything. I want to do a little bit back and forth. What I'm just saying is, I'm just showing you how, because people are saying on Twitter, I don't understand why Tesla's down on we're going to save the world, we're going to change the world. And all I'm trying to get across is there are other people that buy the stock that aren't like Tesla lovers.
Sure.
And I'm just trying to give people an understanding out there in the world why things happen. And I think that's one of them. I think
Yeah, and
Jeff's about
I'm
to
really
roast you.
happy. And I'm really, really happy you invited
Go ahead,
me.
Jeff, bring it on.
I love
Come on.
it.
Wait,
Thank you for
so
the
wait,
invitation
can we
to
go
lunch.
through the list?
Wait. Can we go through the lunch invitation first?
What?
August 15th.
You guys can set up a one-on-one call. Do that. I was just going to say,
Yeah.
I'm just going through the list of what we've been called on this call. Tesla lovers. What's the other list? I'm rational. I'm thinking through this, and I was going to say, I was just looking at my calendar tomorrow. I'm going to have to spend to block a half hour to go through the comments on Christian and defend him. So it's probably taking me about a half hour. I'm just adding that on my calendar
me up
now.
a little bit. We chat sometimes, and sometimes you're critical about some of these calls, and come on, be fair.
I know. It's funny.
No, I told you where the point that was.
You
was
just
valid.
do it a lot more politely than me. That's all.
No, Christian, you called him out. I was about to, like, in the chats. He is like going crazy about Elon talking margin, but on this call, he pointed out, but he was very careful with his words.
He said it. He said it.
I said it.
He didn't use his name.
What do you want me to do?
Go back to the tape. He didn't use his name at all. He was very, very general about his answer.
No, okay. That's all good.
Okay.
All right.
Can we do? Listen. I loved your answer, Xander. Your answer was so beautifully well worded and stated. Thank you so much for doing that, because it is about the big things that are happening, and these things are smaller. So I think we should do a toast and celebrate that we are in the second half of this year, right, Jeff? You're talking about the tale of two halves. We're now heading to the second half. Things are looking very good for this company. I say we do a toast for that.
Cheers.
And I'm also a natural debater. I love debate. I love back and forth. I hate when we all disagree. So, blame me, but I got to mix it up a little bit.
A natural debater? Okay.
A master.
I didn't say anything.
You did.
Gosh, the whole agenda for the show is just
Or a
off the
natural
roof at this
disaster,
point.
whatever you want to go with. It's fine.
Who's running this show?
Exactly. What's the moderator doing?
You got to
here?
put
What's the
Alexander back in
last
charge.
What's the moderator? What's the CEO?
Wait, this didn't happen last week.
Right?
It's craziness.
What was that?
Jesus, I'm getting hammered today. All right. We got to talk FSD licensing. This is a big deal in my mind, unless you guys think that this wasn't, because people are saying, "Oh, they're just in talks." I think that's hilarious when people say that. Yes, they're just in talks, but Jesus, this is a major auto OEM talking about licensing FSD, or maybe components of it. It could just be autopilot. It can be AAB, but it's still a very big deal, because now the fleet that Tesla is managing and be able to make revenue from the software sales is going to be so much larger. And as we've seen with Supercharger, if one falls, the others need to follow along, is basically what will happen. So why aren't people so friggin' excited about this? I am just through the roof about this. And I think this was the biggest news that came out from the Q2 earnings. What do you guys think? Who wants to go first?
I can go first. I absolutely loved it. And I said straight away on Twitter, I think the potential candidates of who this could be is, in my view, number one, Ford, obvious, very good understanding. Elon really trying to be nice to the Ford team on Twitter and all that. Just feel that they were the first ones on the superchargers as well. Second, maybe BYD for the Chinese market. You remember a couple of weeks ago, Elon was negotiating with the Chinese that FSD would come to China, so BYD would be a good candidate for that. And then I have two outliers to which a lot of people agree to, which is Toyota, which I think has a change in management and understands that this, they have to do something major, and they have the most to lose, right? When you are the big fish in the pond, you have the most to lose. And the number 4 for me is Volkswagen, just because they have gone through years and years of software problems now, and they are coming to the conclusion that the house is on fire. So those are my 4. I'm sure people have different ones, but no matter who it is, actually, and even if it would just been a stroke of poker, all of them are sweating now. All of them are suddenly going, oh my God, who is going to be the one who is number one, and will I be number two? And this has completely changed. The way he did that was very clever. Has completely changed the perception of competitors to Tesla FSD. Some of them still believe they have an in-house solution. They probably know how bad it is, and Tesla's solution is so much better, so much more advanced, so much more flexible. And when I hear people say, "Oh, but it will need hardware," yes, it will need cameras. And I know OEMs take, a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years to adapt, but that's a short span of time in a life of a car company. So, absolutely enthusiastic about it. But obviously nothing is written in ink, and they can't put it in the spreadsheet, and they don't even understand yet that this addresses a total addressable market that is not the potentially 20 million cars in 2030. In 2030, it's the 20 million cars Tesla sold in 2030, plus all the cars it sold prior to 2030, plus all the cars from the other car manufacturers that will by then be equipped with that. So we're talking huge buck. We're talking like billions and billions. And this morning, Gene Munster quantified it of being 20 billion per year. No. It's a huge multiple of that. I mean, I don't know whether they will still market it at $200 a month, or whether it will have come down in price or whatever. But whatever you put in, it's not 20 billion. It is much, 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 much more. So this was the big announce yesterday. But of course, nobody pre-calculated them what that means. Nobody showed them a contract that's already signed. So now they have a headache. Let's move on. It's our buying window. That's it. That's the thing from it.
What do you think, Jeff?
I thought it was great. I think a couple of things. One is we talked about this before with supercharging and this opening the door to more things, and that's happening. These things take time. I think a partner that starts with Tesla prior to the solution being, production worthy and out of beta is going to be in much better shape to launch this in 25 or 2026 or in that time frame. So the sooner you start, I think they're going to get a better price point, and I think they're going to have a much better partnership. And again, I think this caught a lot of analysts flat-footed. They don't have this line. I think Alexander put it really well. They don't have this line in the spreadsheet for this other revenue coming in now, and you're going to start hearing a lot more chatter around the sum of parts piece of Tesla, and that just continuing to grow as these quote unquote other businesses, fleet businesses, energy businesses, all these things start to take form. And it's happening in steps. Sometimes we're just impatient. We want everything now. We want energy, we want energy forecasted by units. We want it in the P&D report. We want this, we want this, we want this. But if you step back and if you look at the company in like 1 year and 2 year chunks, and you look at where were they 2 years ago versus where are they, 2 years later, the progress is actually significant. So I think this is a very big deal. And I think it's the first of many. And I think other companies are realizing that what they've been working on for the last couple of years is not scalable. And Tesla may have nailed this solution. By the way, they buy Teslas. They buy the latest Teslas. They put them on the road. They test them. They tear them down. Guaranteed it. And I think they're pleasantly surprised with what they're seeing, and they see the trajectory of where this is going and where Tesla's in investing too on the compute side. They said that they're going to have top 5 compute in terms of compute resources. What are the 3 things you need to do this? You need the talent, you need the compute, and you need the miles. And Tesla's in the position to do all 3 of those.
Well put, Jeff.
Wow, guys, I don't know. The progress is so amazing in every area. I don't know how, as a long-term investor, and if you're not yet an investor, why aren't you going, this is the time to get in? We're now getting real data and facts about the progress that they're making in every area. So not investment advice. I guess I'm talking to you, Christian. I mean, come on, man.
Me?
What will it take for you?
He bought today.
I'm I bought.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I want
you guys don't
more.
listen. You just hear.
Why are you
this other
little
stuff.
more
I
than
said
just
I
little
bought
bits?
today. I bought in the hundreds. I bought at 160. You guys don't know what I'm doing. You
Yeah.
just hear, oh, Christian's complaining. Look, I love the company. I'll say this again. All right, now here's bullish Christian. They lead
Yes,
in EVs. There's no one close. No one's
Give him his own
making an
screen.
EV. I said that Tesla, I'm not screen. Tesla is the only one at scale making EVs. There is no competition, period, especially in North America. Boom. They have an energy business that is growing leaps and bounds. No other car company has an energy business, stationary storage that's growing, 200% year over year, and it has quasi infinite demand. Boom on that. Nobody has FSD anywhere close a scalable solution. They're doing vision. How long it takes, we don't know, but no one's even close. They got LiDAR and geofence. That's not scalable. It's not a solution. Tesla's won that. Boom. Tesla's got an insurance division. Their services division is growing. They have it all. They are a technology company and a hardware company. It's amazing. I've never seen a company that can do manufacturing at scale and can now do software coming at scale with FSD, Dojo getting started, all the great engineers, all that talent, amazing. Tesla is the alpha dog. That being said, I already know that. So I have to go through it and say, okay, what could they possibly do better that I see? Now, you may say, well, why even bother with that? It's because as a shareholder, I want the best of the best. And that means great earnings calls. That means great communication. We don't just stop at, oh, I'm the greatest innovator, so I could just mess around with everything else. No, then put someone in there that will be great at conference calls. You want to be great at everything you can do or improve at it. You just don't want to just sit there and say, well, that's not my deal. I'll just do whatever I want on that one. So what I'm saying is they're the alpha dog, and I want them to be great at everything. And the greatest companies in the world, like an Apple, are great at everything. They're not just great at one thing. They're great at communicating message. They're great at delivering great products. They're great at doing things, buying back their stock, creating shareholder value. They do everything great, and that's why they're the biggest company in the world. And if Tesla wants to be the biggest company in the world, and they want investors to give it a market capitalization of 3, 4, 5, 6 trillion, well, then they're going to have to play the game and become great at all these things. Rant over.
It was a
Bullish
good
Christian.
rant. It was a very good rant, and I'm glad you put it in perspective. And you actually have a point. I mean, they have to learn to address whoever they speak to, and this goes actually for a lot of things. For example, how the delivery experience is in the service centers. There are people now picking up Teslas who are not early adopters, that are, for the first time getting into a Tesla and need much more tender love and care than the first generation of investors need. So there are so many things where Tesla can improve and where they're still in their engineering mindset and in their we're changing the world and you just adopt mindset. And earnings call is one of them. It's just it. But I mean, will it change? Does it really matter? No. It's one of those things. Would be nice if it changes, and if it doesn't, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, the FSD part that it's making me do something which I had no plans of doing. I brought it up on the screen. Apparently, it lagged me out like crazy, so I turned it off. But I'm looking at how much I paid for my Model Y Performance. Which I've had, I guess, coming up on 2 years now. Yeah, I got it at end of 21 in December of 21. So, and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have the Ryzen chip, so, or the hardware. So I want to upgrade that, and then if I get hardware 4, what's the cost delta on doing something? I have to consider the interest rate, which is not good. But how many other people are thinking like this? I think Jeff ordered one.
Many, and I get lots of messages because it doesn't work for the 3 yet, right? It only works for the hardware 4. It's the Y, the S, and the X.
How does it? So am I placing an order? You guys can educate me. This is tech support. We just changed the show. Is it just don't order FSD and then when you just ask them to transfer it? Does anybody know?
Yeah, no. Drive Tesla had an article that explained the actual terms and conditions. You can buy a brand new car. You should buy FSD, and then you then call them. They will then transfer the old FSD from the previous card to the new one, and then not charge you for the new FSD.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't do it that way, but we'll figure it out before.
We'll
Take
fix it in
delivery.
post.
And lots of orders the last 24 hours. There's no doubt about it. You see, obviously, some prominent people on Twitter doing it, but I hear also of a lot of people who, are much more anonymous on Twitter, who have been to the store today, who checked out the Model 3, but that's not the new hardware yet. So trying to think whether they upgrade to a Y. They realize the resale value of their cars has dropped a lot, because that's the other fact. What are you going to do now with the old car, right? So, but lots of people in that mood, yes. And why do you think they did this? Do you think they did this just, as a token to spur Q3 deliveries? Or is there something much bigger coming? Meaning, will FSD increase in Q4? Is FSD ready for version 12 soon? And then that's it. Then maybe we go only to monthlies, and then everybody has their new car, and off we go. What's your hypothesis? Why suddenly? I mean, for years and years and years, every earnings call, it was like, why can't we transfer? Why can't we transfer? And there suddenly it is. Why? Why now?
Yeah. Well, so I think you're absolutely, that's exactly what happened, right? Somebody tweeted that out. You and I both retweeted this person who came up with that concept, which makes sense to me, right? So first of all, I find it funny that we are all talking about these, we all own Teslas and we're all upset. That's such a small number. What, 4 million people of us have Teslas? What matters to me is the billions of people that are going to become investors and buying Teslas from now on. But okay, the people who bought Teslas, you have to love your customer. You have to do something about that. They were complaining big time. So they address it. But the reason why they did, which is what this person brought up, is that you're exactly right. By fourth quarter, they're going to raise the price of FSD. They're going to turn it to, as soon as it's version 12, not a beta anymore. This thing is worth, what does he call it? $250,000, right? 5 times more. It's not worth $15,000. And so they probably will stop selling it too. So this is your opportunity to bump it up. And then from now on, we're going to just charge really ridiculous amount of money for it because the value is significant. And the whole point, by the way, of why we're doing Robotaxi is not to sell more cars. It's to rent out the cars as Robotaxi so that people can then take advantage of that service at a very lower price instead of owning the car. So they are definitely headed in the direction of fleet management. And a lot of people don't agree with me, but I don't see them selling cars to retail, to consumers like us in the future.
You may be right. You may be right on that one. And that will break my heart. I love owning my 2 Teslas and having them in front of my door and suddenly thinking that there may not be anything sold to retail investors anymore. No, to retail customers anymore. That'll be really a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, look how sad Christian is. He's considering, wait, I'm not going to actually be able to become a real Tesla bull and own a vehicle.
2024,
buy his Porsche.
The tax credit is a point of sale, $7,500, boom, right off. I'm waiting for that. Model 3, that will be the purchase.
But not sure that Model 3 qualifies for 7,500 anymore next year. Not sure.
Oh, it doesn't? I thought it did.
Well, they just put out a press thing about a week ago, and you find it on their website on the top saying it's guaranteed until the end of the year, but it's not guaranteed for 2024 for Model 3.
Why would it change, though? Isn't it in the law, the IRA law?
Well, because the list is obviously something that's fluctuating.
Oh, it changes? Okay, I thought EV. Okay.
Or they may change sourcing. Yeah, I don't know about this thing of like not selling cars to people. I don't know about that. I haven't thought through that enough, but I think you're still going to be able to buy a car for many years. But that would be an interesting demand driver to say we're going to stop selling to retail, get them while they're hot. But yeah, I'm not in that camp. I think that's going to continue.
So tell me what happened. If full self-driving is solved, and it's solved this next year, okay, 2024 is solved. So now the car can do full self-driving. Now we don't know yet if you got Robotaxi, the regulatories and all that haven't happened yet. So then Tesla's going to sell you the car plus what, 15,000? Okay, they double it, $30,000. And then you guys, the consumer can make $250,000 by just renting this out like crazy. Is that what's going to happen? Individuals will continue to buy this. instead of
No,
Tesla
I think if you buy,
themselves renting
no,
it
I
out
think they'll
and
have
making that money?
commercials. They'll have commercial sales in private. They'll know what you're doing with your car,
Right.
you know, and I think they'll have a commercial sale and they'll have private retail sales. I think that will continue.
Why would they do the private retail sale and lose out
I'm
on
not-
all of
okay.
that revenue that they themselves can do? And as an investor, wouldn't you want them to have maximized margin, Christian, maximized margin? 100%
I
margin.
don't know.
I
I'm not
agree,
in
Herbert,
that
but
camp
here-
that everybody's going to lend their car out. I'm not in that
I agree
camp.
with that,
Right.
but
No,
I agree
no,
with
that's
that.
my point. You're not going to sell to consumers because they're not going to rent it out. But what you're going to do is have your own fleet that you own and just do a whole robo taxi. Every 4 million cars I'm building this year, they're all going to be robo taxis. Why would I sell a million to consumers?
There's two answers to that, Herbert. So the one answer is you're right. If they solve robotaxi and this thing is regulated and it works perfect and it's a game changer, right? Then there's no reason to sell it to Joe Schmo because he can't afford it. The thing's going to be, you know, a car that could drive itself is worth $200,000-$300,000. So you're not going to have a huge market for it. So I agree with you. Tesla would just keep it. But here's the thing. Why are they talking about a licensing deal then? Wouldn't they want to keep it to themselves at least for a few years and then start to, why would you partner with someone, give them everything that you've been working on for a decade, and now say, well, you could have the same thing and they can catch right up. And if they want a Ford, they can get everything that Tesla has, but I hate Tesla and Elon, so I'll just buy the Ford. Why would they license
Full
it?
self-drive doesn't mean robotaxi. First, second, full self-drive. Let's say they partner. It doesn't mean that full self-drive gives you the robo taxi capability. The second is if they partner with Ford, they will have the strongest advocate actually for full self-drive to become nationally accepted quickly. Because I mean, if there is, I mean, these Detroit companies have just a completely different network and influence politically than Tesla will ever have. So there are a couple of good reasons to do it. In China, there may be very good reasons. Partnering it with BYD will give them access to something else in China. I mean, there are always reasons for this. Japan may have other reasons, right? If you do partner with Toyota, that could bring you the whole penetration of the Japanese market, for which currently it is still very complicated. So I do believe FSD licensing is something that will open more doors than just FSD revenues. Robotaxi by itself, I mean, in my model, it's not something before 2026 and even later, but it doesn't matter. I mean, the adoption will be something because consumers want it, because Teslas are capable of doing it, and because Tesla may actually use those returning leases. Remember that the Model 3s and Model Ys that you can't purchase them at the end of your lease. You can purchase the Model S and the Model X, but not the 3 and the Y. So they could very quickly constitute a pool of Tesla-owned cars capable of doing that.
Yeah, I want to.
Yeah, no, you make good points. I just was wondering, just out loud, like, if you know, what exactly does, it's a big deal, I agree, but what does the licensing deal do? GM, I mean, so say it was Ford, Tesla would have to help them put the cameras on the car. They would give them the software, right? They would give them everything to be drivable.
It'll add cars to the network in the beginning when they still haven't scaled to 20 million cars. And I think about it like this. You have enhanced autopilot, that's $6,000. You have FSD that you want for streets and navigation, that's 15. Now, if you want to be part of the FSD robo-taxi network, that one is $50,000 or whatever, because you will be able to monetize it. So it's just going to be another layer of capability that you have to enable and you have to pay for, is the way I view it once we get there. But this is the time horizon on this isn't now. So you have many years of growth necessary to achieve this.
And then you're the operating system. Yeah. Then you are the operating system of all these cars. Then you are the iOS of the cars. And I mean, you know what that meant for Apple, and that's just it. And it's actually more clever than Apple, because it's the Apple model combined with the Razor model. You sell them a piece of hardware and you sell them the access to the software. So how much more do you want? And you sell that to them for the second biggest asset of any family, right? Families have their home and their cars. So we're not talking $1,000 phones anymore. We're talking whatever budget people have for the car, which is including insurance, because then suddenly the insurance are in that whole network as well, because the data from the cars are relevant to the insurances. So you can just spin this whole thing very large.
Yeah, there's going to be a difference between. Go ahead.
Could I spur some debate? What if Elon gives away FSD at cost?
I was thinking about that. You know that I'm already very skeptical of them letting the superchargers used maybe without licensing fee, right? I mean, the thing is, Elon didn't become billionaire because he's just charitable, right? I mean, I do believe he is a very frugal guy who lives in very simple circumstances because he doesn't like to throw money out. So I don't think he gives stuff away without thinking it through. So if he initially gives things away, like the access to the superchargers, or maybe even the access to FSD, it is because there's much more coming back, right?
Right.
And he has actually the obligation to do it. He is CEO and member of the board of Tesla, to have our interests as shareholders in mind. So if he's starting to throw out charitable stuff without any return on it, he will have the biggest problems ever.
Wait,
and they're watching him from all sides.
Yeah, but maybe the interest of humanity trumps shareholder Alexandra. The interest of humanity will trump Tesla shareholders.
Well, so far, the interest of humanity has been very, very profitable for Tesla, for Elon, for us. And so
we're making a little joke. We're making a little joke.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Sure. So you know what? Let's say he does give away FSD. Great. What happens then, right? So every car is able to do this. We get incredible revenue. We take that money and we build bots. And the bots is going to be a $20 trillion, $100 trillion market. Maybe that's what we do. Maybe FSD is just a stepping stone to the most biggest.
So getting to the bots.
Changing. Yeah.
So getting to the bots. Were you disappointed? Were you disappointed by the number of bots?
Yeah, let me get to that. So let me get to that point, just so because by the way, just so you're aware, I took notes like everybody else does, and I have every word that was said. Okay. So this is what they said. First of all, I was wrong about the bots, right? Because I was saying that I felt that the bots were a done deal, that we're going to at least see 100. I said 100. I was not one of those people that was saying 500 or 1,000 by the end of this year. It wasn't that difficult to make, and that they would be 100, and then they would scale it next year. Okay, so I was wrong. They don't have 100. What he said was we have 6, maybe we have 10 bots. There's more every month. Now he went off talking about how difficult it is to buy actuators and that they're designing it on their own. Now he had said that same statement last time. And then he said the first Optimus with the Tesla design actuator should be around November. We will then start ramping up after that. We'll try this out in our factory. Will be useful in our factory sometime next year. So the best tweet that I saw was that people who are bot enthusiasts like me, who are crazy bots, who thought the bots were already here, they are wrong. But it's also true to say that the people who are bot pessimists, that they're wrong. Because what does this say? If they are able to create a Optimus bot with our own actuators, which was designed for manufacturing by November, then scaling it will happen next year. And so at that point, they're saying, what is your words that you use, Jeff? The design, what is this, a design release or a release candidate, right? So we're almost there. So yes, I was wrong for this year, but I'm not wrong for next year. This is a big deal, and it's pretty well happening. So
I don't think these bots are. I disagree a little bit. I don't think these bots are release candidate bots. I think they're in the thick of the prototyping phase. But
not the ones that are now. We're talking about the one he said in November. Then we're going to scale that. We're going to ramp that one up.
Okay. It's possible. It's possible. We'll see.
Yeah,
I'll just leave it at.
But we will start ramping up after that. So once they've got their own actuators in the bot, they're ready to ramp. Is what I heard. So
did he say ramping actuators? Because that's what I heard was that they're going to start. No.
He said the first Optimus with the Tesla design actuators should be around November. We will start ramping up after that. We will try this out in our factory. Will be useful in our factory sometime next year. I'm confident of that.
Yeah, right. So with it ramping up it could be hundreds and thousands. Yeah. It could be hundreds of prototypes. And that's what that statement could mean. I don't know if they're going into mass production on the robot at the end of this year. I would be surprised. I would be pleasantly surprised.
Did you remember the clip that I've shared before with Tom Jew talking about Gig of Mexico? And he said the Gig of Mexico will have 10,000 employees, maybe 5,000 bots. That was his words. So
I didn't see that.
Gig of Mexico
I didn't see
will
that one.
launch by the. Oh yeah, no, I've cut that clip. I've shared it many times, and it was Scott Walter who kept talking about it. And I said, "Where did you hear that?" And we heard it directly from Tom Jew's mouth, and this is what he said. He said,
But at
5,000
launch,
bots at Gig of Mexico.
launch, or
He
over
didn't say
time?
that, of course.
No.
Well, we got to
Maybe
watch
over
the
time.
transcript, listen to him again. But he basically, well, okay, guys, whatever. You guys are so funny, but okay.
No, we agree with you. We love bot. I think bot is the game changer. But
We're
again,
debating.
we're debating, and I kind of agree with Jeff. Remember, these things take a little bit longer than we all think. It's not easy just to throw a bunch of bots out there, thousands and tens of thousands of bots. I love the excitement, but Elon, even on the call, I kind of heard in his voice, he didn't downplay it, but he said, hopefully in 2024, they can do useful things in the factory. And that's all he said at very point. He didn't say this was a game changer next year. He didn't say he just said, this is what we're going to do. It will be a game changer. But again, these things take time. So I love your reporting, Herbert. I think you've done great work on this. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying me being a little bit of a,
That's fine.
These things
But is
take
it
time.
true or
That's
not
all.
true that it's harder to
No,
make
I
a
agree with
CyberTruck than a bot? Because the CyberTruck has
Is it-
10,000 parts. It's a
I'll let
vehicle.
Jeff answer that one. I'm not qualified to answer that.
So that's
Well, the question
experts are telling me.
is probably not the hardware, but the software and the execution of the software is probably more complicated of the bot.
But today, the way, again, we kept explaining that the bot that is created by next year does not need to be like this thing that can do anything and everything. It can be very, very pick and place, very specific, just a 6-foot area, and there's already employees that can replace today. Just pick and then place. Pick and place. That's it. That's all it needs to do. And it can do that today. In fact, the Ashok Swami videos, he said that everything we're doing for Autopilot and FSD is exactly transferable to the bot. And then he said that I can ask the bot to pick up an apple and it'll pick up an apple because they're showing how you could do prompts now. So yeah.
For the record, I agree with you, Herbert. I think they can do that now. Yeah, I think they can do simple things like this. I just think the scale, the way Elon said, we don't have the actuate, he made it seem like to scale this up will be a bit of a challenge. So I agree with you. They have the capability. You think it'll be?
He said the opposite, which is we designed a CyberTruck as manufacturing first. We are designing the robot as manufacturing first. And that's why every actuator that we are designing, we couldn't just pick off the shelf. If we did, we'd buy it. We have to design it. But if you notice how they built these actuators, they're all the same. So that they use the exact actuator for every part of the bot so that they can just build one thing and it was designed for manufacturing first. And so once they settle on the design, this thing is going to be so easy to mass produce. That's exactly what they were planning.
I'll
I
defer
agree
to
with
you,
that. I think
Herbert,
that
and because I'm not an expert like you are on it, so I'll defer to you, and I'll say
I'm not an expert.
Well, I mean, you've done a lot more research than I have. You've done a lot more research than I have.
I'll just say really quickly is I think you phrased it right, which is once they settle on what they want, they'll be able to scale pretty quickly. But that's selling like the human factors going because there's robots in the factory today that are moving stuff around and picking place, and this is going to the humanoid form. That is where they're going to need a little bit more time to think through all the test cases, all the use cases. That's why CyberTruck's a release candidate now. They're going through test cases. I think on the humanoid side that once they figure out what they want, I agree they'll be able to scale. It's just, I think he's got a signal like we're on final design. And I don't think I've heard that.
And I want to add, I mean, what we learned with the cars is that you obviously need this neural net, which improves then capability. Now, if you only have 6 or 10 or 100 bots who do pick and place, that's not how you're going to learn all these scenarios of which you are building. So there is going to be a phase where you're a bit stuck like you were with the cars, meaning you have to have data assembly and use case recognition and training before you can really use them the way you want.
So you just gave a perfect argument, the perfect argument of why they're going to take their time until they build it in November. And then by November, by next year, they have to make 1,000. That's the whole point of what you just said.
Yeah. And then I think there is this moment where, first of all, you have to get to 1,000, and then you have to have this training mode that feeds the neural net to be able to now artificially understand what the bot should do without having to program it. And I think that moment is just going to take a certain time. I mean, I'm as positive as you on the bot. I think the bot is going to be great. But for me, it's great if it comes in 2028 for a general use case. It's not something that I expect an army of bots walking in tomorrow. I just don't see that.
Yeah. Okay. What's
We're
next,
bringing
Matt?
Herbert down. I'm with you, Herbert.
No.
I'm
not
with
down.
Herbert. We're
I'm
going to
not
get
down.
this done. I'm with you, Herbert.
Bullish Christian
we
is
talk about
awesome.
Dojo?
I love that.
Yeah, I know you like
Can we
that.
talk about Dojo?
What do you want to say?
NVIDIA?
Go ahead.
Dojo and NVIDIA? I don't have any. I just want to ask you guys. But he said, we'd buy all the NVIDIA chips, and Dojo is scaling up. So, what were your takeaways from the call on that part?
Yeah, he said he wants more NVIDIA chips, but he can only get a small fraction. So he's NVIDIA have to do it himself.
But that's something we knew, right? I mean, that's something that we knew since AI Day 2, latest, if not already AI Day 1, where NVIDIA can't just deliver enough, and that's why they're doing themselves. And it's just going to be the supercomputer of all computers. That's which is encouraging. And I mean, I heard this morning people saying, "Oh my God, he's throwing $1 billion at that." I mean, that's probably the best investment ever. I can't understand why people, have the slightest doubt, especially after the time this has been maturing. This has been maturing for at least a year, and probably many years prior to what we know. And that NVIDIA doesn't have enough, well, they don't have enough. That's just it. So Tesla, as always, does it by themselves because nobody else can do it. So all that I find highly bullish and not worrisome in any way. They have enough money to do it. That's actually another thing we should talk, because it's such a simple number, yet everybody seems to ignore it. So this quarter, sales were $25 billion US, right? $25 billion. Nobody says that this morning. Can you imagine? So 4 quarters like that is $100 billion.
That's what I thought they would do this year. About $100 billion.
I know, but this is great.
Mm-hmm.
This is absolutely great, and should be stressed and should be congratulated.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think NVIDIA knows the full demand on the silicon yet. And they've said, I think on a recent call, that they think that they could, have supply demand equilibrium at the end of the year. I don't think they know, and I think it may take actually much longer. So I like the fact that Tesla is going their own route, because what happens is when something goes on global allocation, which is what happens here, you don't. As a receiver of those, as a company, you actually don't understand how the decisions are being made. Are they being made on who's paying the highest price, who put their orders in first? Is it a relationship with Jensen Huang? How do companies actually allocate? How does a company like NVIDIA actually allocate this? So it's just a fascinating thing to think about in the background. But the fact that Tesla's, they're doing what they need to do right now, but they've got their vision, they've got their plan. They have their own training computers, I think, is the right way to go.
All right, everybody. That was a fun show. Thank you very much. We saw Bullish Christian come out. I love it.
I've been bullish the last few
cave.
Inviting me for lunch. Nobody forget.
August 15th.
Buying stock.
And it's what I'm saying is it's really, really hard.
It is
for
another
people to
man. A new man.
It's really hard for people to not be bullish at this point when everything they're doing is coming out of just knocking out of the park, left, right, center, and more is going to come. So next 6 months is going to be critical. Yeah. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be fun. And so I'm just more bullish than ever. So not financial advice, but that's my opinion. Okay.
Just
awesome.
Be careful. Thanks, with everybody. Macro. We didn't talk macro, so just be careful.
Agreed. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Hey there, thank you for joining me. If you can, please consider supporting this channel so I can keep it going. It's a lot of work arranging all these amazing interviews. One of the easiest ways is just to click that join button and become a member of the channel. Thank you very much, and let's get brighter.